Love after marriage. This afternoon, I got a text from his secretary. Madam, Mr. Charles has a dinner tonight and will be home around 10:30. I stared at my phone briefly and replied, Okay, thanks. 10:30. He would have eaten by then. I just had to prepare the bath and his clothes. I finished everything by 9:45 and went to bed. I heard the door open and the water running in the bathroom. He came to bed and kissed me. Why are you sleeping so early? He whispered in my ear. A little tired, I said, not pushing him away. We made love and he fell asleep. I couldn't sleep. I got up and poured myself a glass of wine. I sat in the living room and saw our wedding photos on the wall. When should I tell him I want a divorce? Charles and I met in college. He was the campus star, wealthy, intelligent, handsome, perfect. I fell in love with him, naturally. I chased him for 2 semesters and did many silly things, but he never noticed me. I remember it was a snowy day. I knitted a scarf for him and waited for him outside his dorm. But he said to me coldly, Dangy, leave me alone. I have someone I love. I didn't believe him at first. I thought it was just an excuse. Until I saw her, Betty. I saw him take off his coat and wrap it around her. I saw him comfort her softly as she cried. I saw him kiss her gently on the lips. He was so tender to her, so hurt by her. But not to me. Their love story spread quickly. He was the proud son of heaven. She was the poor student. She faced a lot of criticism and gossip. He even banned the school forum to protect her. But their love didn't last. They broke up because Charles wanted to marry her after graduation, but Betty refused. She said she wanted to be independent, not rely on a man. They fought and made up and fought again until Betty decided to return to her hometown and work as a teacher. They parted ways for good. Half a year later, Charles and my family had a project together. Charles and I met again. We got closer because of the project. I was still nice to him as before. I reminded him to drink less when he socialized. I cooked soup for him and brought it to his office. 3 months later, he saw me shivering outside his company one snowy night. He came over and asked me, Dangy, do you still like me that much? I looked at him blankly and nodded. Yes, I always liked him. He smiled. So, do you want to marry me? I loved him from the day we married, and for most of the past 5 years. I thought he loved me too, even though he rarely contacted me, kept his schedule secret, and only shared a routine bed with me. I never bothered him with my problems, even when I was sick and went to the hospital alone. But then I found a box with letters from a rural school principal, thanking him for his anonymous donations for years. The principal's name was Betty. I was making breakfast the following day when Charles hugged me from behind. Surprised, I asked him, Are you having breakfast at home today? He nodded, and I gave him the fried omelet I had made. He looked at it and hesitated. It's hot. Devour it. I must do my makeup. I'm going with Grandma to see Mrs. Tang. I put down the milk and turned to leave. Honey. He pulled me back and wanted to say something. I looked at him curiously. What's wrong? He embraced me and asked, Have you been tired lately? Tired? Yes, I'm exhausted. I am tired of thinking about how to divorce him. I'm free tonight. Do you want to go to the new Michelin restaurant near the office? They have the Cantonese food you love, he said. I was shocked, and he asked, Are you free tonight? He nodded. How long? He smiled and touched my earlobe. A lot. A lot? I was happy. Really? He smiled. Of course. Great. I'll meet you at the office tonight then. I jumped off him, feeling much lighter. It was great that he was free. That meant that tonight, we could finally talk about the divorce. Charles didn't show up that night. He broke his promise. I was about to leave at 5 p.m. when I got a text from the secretary. Charles had an urgent meeting and couldn't dine with me. This had happened many times in 5 years, and I was used to it, so I changed my clothes and ate alone. After dinner, I sat by the window, watching the sky turn dark, and browsed some videos on my phone. Then, I saw Charles in a popular video. He was with someone else. It was Betty. They sat across each other, with Charles's company caf behind them. The blogger who seemed to work for Charles said excitedly in the video, "Look at our company's benefits. We can see Big Boss and the famous Principal Betty having coffee after work. And Principal Betty is even prettier than on TV. I want to ask for her autograph." The video was posted 5 minutes ago. The comments were full of compliments. What a handsome boss and a beautiful teacher. So eye-catching, so jealous of the blogger. Eye-catching, so jealous of the blogger. Is your company hiring? I want to join too. I watched silently for a long time and turned off my phone. Charles ditched me for Betty. I felt it was normal for him to do that. Even though I was his wife, I felt he didn't care about me. Maybe he never compared me with Betty. Maybe I was nothing to him. At 9:30, Charles finally came back. What did you eat? He sat next to me and asked about my dinner for once. I didn't answer, but asked him softly, "Did you cancel tonight because of Betty?" He froze, surprised and angry. Who told you that? I shook my head. No one. I saw it on a video. He sighed softly. I didn't tell you because I didn't want you to be paranoid. Don't worry. There's nothing between her and me. I just donated to her school anonymously. I don't know who leaked it. She brought the TV station to thank me. She was hurrying, so I agreed to do some interviews. He sat down next to me. We met at the company cafe. Many staff were there. Honey, he stroked my hair. We've been married for 5 years. We trust each other, right? I think I'll have time tomorrow. Let's go to that Cantonese restaurant. Charles, I interrupted him. I don't like Cantonese food. I only said that because you like it, and I wanted to eat with you more. He froze. Do you know what kind of food I love? He didn't say anything. Of course, he didn't know, nor did he ever care. I couldn't hold back the emotions I had suppressed for hours. I wanted to scream at him, but I still asked him the cruel question. So you remember that Betty loves black tea and kosher food, but you don't know what your wife loves? Honey, he frowned. We can talk about whatever you're unhappy with me, but don't involve Betty in this. As expected, he couldn't stand one sentence from me. Tonight, I do have something to talk to you about. I took a deep breath and looked at him. Charles, let's get a divorce. Silence filled the air for a minute. Danny, Charles said, leaning back. Do you know what you're saying? I do. Divorce is not something you can just bring up. I know. The silence returned. Charles rubbed his eyebrows in the middle of the morning, his voice helpless. Maybe I didn't sound too good earlier, but I just met with Betty. And you want to divorce me over that? I bit my lip, feeling he missed the point. If I wanted to cheat, I wouldn't have done it this way. You know how I do things. We've been married for 5 years. You should understand." Yes, I do understand him. He always does things perfectly, and he always plans things carefully to ensure success. But does he understand me? Has he ever loved me? After seeing the video tonight, I felt the same inferiority I felt when I faced Betty as a student. And the truth is clear, he will never see me when Betty is around. But it's ridiculous to dwell on love, or lack of love as an adult. We're incompatible after so many years of marriage, and you deserve a better choice. Where are we incompatible? He laughed bitterly and reached for me. You've been doing fine for 5 years, but I don't want to keep doing it. I dodged his hand and moved away. His hand hung in the air. I've already prepared the divorce papers. Danny, he cut me off. I explained about Betty, and I promised you I won't see her again. What else do you want? He said sternly. If you're going to make a fuss about what happened tonight, then that's unreasonable. He silenced my words. Fine. It seemed we couldn't talk anymore tonight. He waited a while, then softened his tone and caressed my hair. Don't be rash, okay? Then he got up and went to take a shower. I watched his back and whispered, I had clam chowder tonight. He stopped walking. That is my favorite dish.